Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Monday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather and sports. I am Diana Master. In the news tonight, the Chief Executive Officer of the Electricity Control Board, Robert Kahimithe, announced on Monday that the government has stepped in to soften the impact of the necessary annual adjustment to bulk electricity tariffs charged by NamPower. As of the 1st of August 2026, the tariff increases by 3.7%. NamPower applied for a bulk tariff increase of 8.4%, covering both generation and transmission, according to the CEO. After a rigorous review, including an assessment of assumptions such as exchange rate fluctuations, NamPower's financial position and sustainability, as well as the economic implications of the proposed adjustment, as well as public consultations, when NamPower presented its application, the ECB board approves a moderated bulk tariff increase of 4.8%. However, according to Kahimithe, Minister Modestus Amutse committed 90 million Namibian dollars, 40 million from the National Energy Fund NEF, and $50 million from the Long Run Marginal Cost Fund LRMCF to effectively reduce the tariff increase to 3.7%, which is the increase passed to the customers, he said.
Just from $2.06 per kilowatt hour to a $2.14 per kilowatt hour. With effect. No, the application does make a difference. The adjustment in percentages is 3.7%. And that will affect the increase of the current bulk tariff of $2.06. $2.06 per kilowatt hour. It will increase to $2.14.
Disposable vaping devices, commonly known as chuf, are being confiscated from learners at Donata Secondary School in Oshuarongo every 2 to 3 weeks as lawmakers investigate what they describe as a growing vaping epidemic in Namibia's schools. The revelation was made yesterday during a visit by the National Council Standing Committee on Health, Social Welfare and Labor Affairs, which is conducting a fact-finding mission into the increasing use of vaping and nicotine products among learners. The committee has already visited schools in the northern regions and is currently engaging schools in the Otjozondjupa region. It will conclude its nationwide tour in the Omaheke region before compiling a report with recommendations for Parliament. Addressing committee members, Donata Secondary School Principal Udo Benke said vaping has become a recurring disciplinary challenge at the school. He said the school regularly confiscates disposable vaping devices from learners and in some cases has enlisted the assistance of the Namibian police during confiscations and related investigations. While the school has not encountered learners using hubbly hookah devices, Benke said disposable vapes have become the product of choice because they are small, easy to conceal and difficult for teachers to detect. Let's take a look.
Approximately that we have a case in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. Like the cleaner found one at the toilets now on Friday. I don't know why the teachers, unless they pay so much for them, they are taken away. I mean, it's a lot of money lost. The Hubby Bubblies, I cannot recall an incident of Hubby Bubbly at school, but I have heard from learners that some of them, that it is a situation that occurs at their houses sometimes. Our grade 8, I'm mostly working with the grade 8 learners, grade 12 learners, sorry. And I talked to them the other day, and it seems in that specific class there is no issue with it, but I cannot say with other learners, but our grade 12s, which are about 40 learners, 42, and there was no issue with them. And they're actually very honest when they're in grade 12. They're also old enough, and they're very, very responsible in this case. But as I said, the issue we have on this topic specifically is the vapes or the chufs, which we have approximately an incident every 3 weeks. So, but there is incidents that are discovered. I cannot say incidents that we are not knowing about, not aware of. So I think the teachers can come in that.
Getting into our next story, a medical doctor at Onanjokwe Hospital, Dennis Noah, aged 31, remained in custody after making his first appearance in the Ondangwa Magistrates Court on Monday on a charge of rape. The state opposed bail, arguing that releasing Noah at this stage could jeopardize the investigation. Prosecutor Aina Mahanumwala told the court the state has a strong case and expressed concern that Noah could interfere with witnesses or flee given the seriousness of the charge and the lengthy prison sentence he could face if convicted. Mwala said investigations are still at an early stage, with police yet to obtain 6 witness statements, compile a photographic plan, and secure 3 forensic reports. According to police, the complainant, a 26-year-old man, traveled to Anipa after Noah allegedly invited him to celebrate his new job and paid for his transport. The two allegedly consumed alcohol at the doctor's hospital accommodation before the complainant noticed what appeared to be a dissolving pill in his drink and began feeling nauseous. Police allege Noah raped the complainant after he became incapacitated. The complainant allegedly escaped by breaking a window after discovering the door was locked and later regained consciousness in a hospital bed. Both men underwent medical examinations, including rape kit procedures, before Noah was arrested. Defense lawyer Alau Homela sought bail, arguing that Noah is a medical doctor providing an essential service to the community and should be allowed to return to work while awaiting trial. He also urged the court to uphold his client's constitutional right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. Magistrate Nalauya France postponed the matter to the 27th of July for a formal bail application and remanded Noah in custody. The case was further postponed to the 29th of July for further police investigations. And now bringing us to the end of our top stories, private companies are carrying out key parts of the Namibia Training Authority's NTA nearly 900 million Namibian dollar school hostel food supply contract, despite the state-owned entity being awarded the nationwide deal under a procurement exemption reserved for public institutions. The development follows government's decision to appoint the NTA on the 29th of June to procure, supply and deliver food to government school hostels across the country through the execution by public entity procurement method, bypassing an open public tender. However, Network Media Hub has established that private companies are providing logistics, transportation, warehousing and other distribution services needed to move food supplies to schools, raising questions about the extent to which the NTA is executing the contract itself. Among those assisting is a company owned by Swapo Party Youth League Secretary Abel Amutse, which is providing logistics support in the Oshana region. The company is supplying trucks for the distribution of food, offering warehousing facilities, and transporting vegetables from the Agro-Marketing and Trade Agency, AMTA, to government schools under the program. And that brings us to the end of our top stories. After the break, we bring you our Community Talk segment.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises. From artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience, creative sport tourism,
Tonight in our Community Talk segment, residents of Oshwarongo's informal settlements will continue receiving basic municipal services in phases as funding becomes available, with the municipality admitting that financial constraints remain the biggest hurdle to improving living conditions. Responding to questions from Network Media Hub, Oshwarongo Municipality Chief Executive Officer Mberipura Hifitikeko acknowledged that many residents still lack proper sanitation, reliable water, electricity and accessible roads, but said the council remains committed to addressing these challenges. He said upgrading informal settlements remains one of the municipality's top priorities and assured residents they had not been forgotten. Now, according to Hifitikeko, the municipality is currently implementing a bulk storage project for informal settlements, which he described as a key step towards improving sanitation. A bulk water infrastructure project is also underway to strengthen water pressure and improve the reliability of water supply. However, he said infrastructure projects of this nature require significant financial resources. As a result, the rollout of roads, sanitation, water and electricity will continue incrementally as funding becomes available. Hifitekeko said a municipality will continue mobilizing resources to expand access to basic services and improve living conditions in informal settlements. His comments follow NMH's visit to Extension 17 informal settlement last week, where residents described daily challenges caused by the lack of basic infrastructure. Resident Priscilla Ngiditi said the community urgently needs streetlights to improve safety, particularly for school children who leave home before dawn. She said some learners leave for school as early as 4 a.m. and are forced to walk through the dark streets, leaving them vulnerable to robbery and other crimes. Let's take a look.
Utapewa maro ovamwe vapewa vamwe katunashana tangu nyeka mara natango utapungwa orusheno atujiko milema nai omeva vako tuvamwe vapewa ngole ina omeashiro ili ngome landro fano maro vamwe ke vamwe na vamwe natuma na vyope fekata vamwe fyope faturande endinyora atulirande ke doradiri nato lomeva mara pefenenga pachasha atwende yatango shinano shidle kuya dolo pamala atendeke momile maturi nai uyelelo uturi kokule nai ngashine unenandi kwa telemo ngashine unona bepai ke escola ngashine no kana kanga kaskara ko project akokule ko kunyako ni mama endo mara o shinano shoshire yanzirongo ngina kutoshike mara nina taxi okana kaka ikeke madimara utakende momile maka ino hamani wa mano ke ngulo potaka iko escola ngao mara ngao utakende momile ma kakeneke kucho kutaka pitinge pifimbori unono taduru kukufana ndini mataka iko skola takaduru kukunye kwa nando njato yako muna nande ubaki bako nenga kudoka skola nenge ijaro mwako skola takaduru kukufunye malumedzina takende momile mapima kapeneke kwa fula shaka natango nanziengo nepome vapa natango omevao natango tapewa mala ovamwe vapewa aba ne vapewa kubwatura ndeneke dorado dina pension ne dorado.
In our next story, the government has begun reviewing a draft national productivity policy aimed at boosting economic growth, creating jobs, and improving Namibia's competitiveness. The Ministry of Justice and Labour Relations on Monday launched a 5-day technical working group workshop at the Namibia Institute of Public Administration and Management, NIPAM, bringing together government officials, employers, trade unions, academics, and development partners to refine the draft policy before it is finalized. Opening the workshop, the Ministry's Director of Labour Market Services, David Ingonda, said improving productivity is essential to achieving sustainable economic growth, creating decent jobs, and raising living standards. He said the policy is intended to provide a coordinated national framework for addressing productivity challenges while driving economic transformation. Now, according to Igonda, the proposed policy seeks to foster a culture of continuous productivity improvement by investing in human capital, promoting technology transfer and innovation, improving efficiency, and strengthening collaboration between government employers, workers, and other stakeholders. Over the next 5 days, participants will review the findings of a situational analysis alongside the draft policy to ensure it is evidence-based, aligned with the national development priorities, and compliant with the National Planning Commission's policy formulation guidelines. Now, the workshop will also identify gaps in the draft policy, refine proposed interventions, and strengthen the implementation framework before the document is submitted for adoption. Igonda said the policy's success would depend on sustained cooperation between government, the private sector, and organized labor. He also acknowledged the International Labour Organization (ILO) for providing technical and financial support during the policy's development, including funding a policy expert who assisted with drafting the document. Stick with us. On the other side of this, we bring you the latest in economic news. This week's decisions, today's debates, tomorrow's consequences. The agenda puts the spotlight on Namibia's most pressing issues and the people driving them. From headline makers to groundbreakers, we bring you the voices and perspectives at the center of the national conversation. One story, one interview, the depth you won't find anywhere else. That is the agenda. Catch the agenda on 102.com and on ntv.my.na. Tonight in economic news, the proposed nuclear bill came under scrutiny during its final public consultation in Windhoek on Friday, with concerns raised over the cost of implementing the legislation, the creation of new institutions, and whether it adequately regulates Namibia's growing nuclear industry. The consultation held at the Commerce Regional Council offices marks the final stop in a nationwide public engagement process led by the Ministry of Health and Social Services. The bill seeks to replace the Atomic Energy and Radiation Protection Act of 2005. The session was led by the Director of the Atomic Energy and Radiation Protection Regulator and Secretary to the Atomic Energy Board, Axel Tibinyane, who presented the proposed legislation and received public submissions. Among those raising concerns were Windhoek East Regional Councillor Jochen Trout, who questioned the length of time taken to draft the legislation and warned that it could face further delays before reaching Parliament. Trout also questioned the establishment of 3 new institutions under the bill: the Nuclear Commission of Namibia, the Nuclear Institute of Namibia, and the Radiation and Nuclear Regulatory Authority of Namibia, saying the additional structures would require dozens of board members, chief executive officers, and support staff. He questioned how the new institutions would be funded and described the proposal as an unnecessary expansion of government structures. Namibia Professional Hunting Association Chief Executive Officer Tanya Dahl also criticized the draft legislation, saying it does not sufficiently address emerging uranium extraction methods such as in situ leaching, despite plans for the technology to be introduced in Namibia. She further argued that the bill lacks clarity on where nuclear facilities may be established and warned that in its current form it could create uncertainty around the handling of spent nuclear fuel and radioactive waste. And now let's take a look at the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades at 22.19 against the British pound, 18.87 against the euro, 16.49 to the US dollar, and 2 Namibian dollars and 44 cents buys you 1 Chinese yuan. Looking at commodities, all commodities are up, save for Brent crude oil, which took a dip of 2.93%, now trading at $88 and 47 cents per barrel. We'll be right back right after this with the latest in international news. In international news tonight, millions of HIV/AIDS patients, many of them in Africa, face an uncertain future as a financial cliff edge for US-funded global programs fast approaches. In September, 120 funding awards for the HIV/AIDS work carried out by the US Centers for Disease Control are set to expire with no concrete replacement system in place. The programs provide services to more than 8.7 million patients worldwide, analysts say, and it's unclear what will happen to many patient services on the other side of October 1st. It comes as the U.S. State Department is restructuring the CDC's work on global health initiatives to assume greater control, according to the internal guidance published by the State Department in May, of which CNN obtained a copy. The new guidance lays out a streamlined approach to the United States' long-running HIV/AIDS initiative called the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, or better known as PEPFAR, which was established by the Bush administration back in 2003. Considered a flagship among global health initiatives, PEPFAR is credited with saving more than 26 million lives and preventing millions of infections, mostly in Africa. Previously, PEPFAR was jointly run by the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, CDC, and other agencies, and overseen by the State Department. But the new plan will swiftly move much more control to the State Department. Multiple critics and experts have told CNN that they support the idea of streamlining PEPFAR. Work to improve its efficiency was already underway, but they believe this new approach will severely diminish the initiative's effectiveness and sideline the health experts at CDC. And now let's take a look at the weather predictions before we get into sports with Ari Hochad. Winter can expect clear conditions and maximum temperatures of 23 degrees Celsius, minimum temperatures of 8 degrees Celsius. In Gobabis, it is partly cloudy. Maximum temperatures will be at 26 degrees Celsius, and minimum temperatures will be at 11 degrees Celsius. Looking over at the coast in Walvis Bay, it's bright and sunny. Maximum temperatures of 28 degrees Celsius are expected, and minimum temperatures of 17 degrees Celsius. Medium in Nariamsvlei, the minimum temperatures are expected to be at 12 degrees Celsius, while the hottest it will be at 23 degrees Celsius. And now, here's Ari Hochad with your sports news.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with soccer news first. It was the final of the 2026 Men's World Cup that was played in America, and the winners of the 2026 World Cup is Spain, and it is Spain that beat Argentina in the final by 1-0. It was still 0-0 after normal time, and in extra time it was Ferran Torres that scored in the 106th minute for Spain to give them the 2026 Men's FIFA World Cup title. And it's the second time they've won the World Cup. They also won the tournament in 2010, and that tournament was in South Africa. Then also in the third place playoff, it was an exciting game. It was England that beat France in that game by 6-4. That game was played in Miami, and that was for England to take the bronze medal. Moving on to golf news, and it is the British Open for men that was concluded, the 154th Open that was played at Royal Birkdale, and the winner is from New Zealand. It is Ryan Fox. He's 39 years old and his first major win, and he won with a score of 10 under par after closing with the 2 under par score for the fourth round, and he won by one shot over Cameron Young of the USA that was on 9 under par, and it was Scotty Scheffler, the world number one. He was on 7 under par in fourth position. Southern African interest, it was a good tournament for Casey Jarvis. He finished tied for 6th. He was 6 under par after the 4 rounds. Moving on to rugby news, and it is the Nations Championship that continued over the weekend, and only South Africa and New Zealand that's unbeaten after 3 rounds. They play in the Southern Hemisphere side of the draw, and both of them have 15 points after 3 games. Over the weekend, it was South Africa that beat Wales comfortably by 43 points to 0, and it's New Zealand that beat Ireland in Eden Park in Auckland by 40 points to 21. And then England, also a good away win for them. They beat Argentina by 31 points to 24. That game was played in Argentina. Then closing off today's international sports news, it is Formula One racing news. It was the Belgium Grand Prix, won by Kimi Antonelli in his Mercedes-Benz, and the second was Charles Leclerc in Ferrari, and third it was Max Verstappen, and he's in a Red Bull Honda. And in the points table at the moment, it is Kimi Antonelli on 204 points. He's the leader. He's followed by Lewis Hamilton on 159. That's after finishing fourth in the Grand Prix. And in third position, it's George Russell on 154. Unfortunately, he did not finish the Grand Prix, so no points for him in the Belgium Grand Prix. The next Grand Prix will be this coming weekend. It will be the Hungarian Grand Prix, and there will be a 4-week summer break after Formula One. So that is international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day. We'll talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. I am Diana Master, and this has been Censored News. Don't end your day without us.